Hi, my name is Gil Robertson, President of the African American Film Critics Association. Today for AAFCA Roundtables, we welcome Letitia Wright, star of the upcoming Amazon Prime series, Small Axe.
A demonstration took place against the police, which degenerated into totally inexcusable violence. There may be some who believe that they have been the victim of injustice. There are others who, like parasites, feed on these beliefs and seek to turn them to their own advantage, deliberately creating hate and violence. These defendants are all guilty of the serious criminal offense.
This attack on a black establishment is not an isolated event, but a sustained campaign against black people. And today we are saying enough is enough.
If you are the big tree, we are the small axe, sharpened to cut you down.
We're going to start this by introducing our members today on the call, starting with Jonesy in Frankfurt, just outside of Frankfurt, Germany, Katia Woods in Philadelphia, Carolyn Hines in Toronto, Ray Cornelius in Atlanta, KB in Houston, Brandon Collins in New York, Rhonda Rasha Penrice in Atlanta, and Reggie Pounder in Chicago. You guys take it away. I'll see you on the other side.
KB here. So your portrayal of Althea is exceptional. So just tell me, when preparing for this role, what is something that took you by surprise that you learned about her, and how did that really shape your performance?
For me, one of the things that took me by surprise was her age. Althea was 19 at the time, going on to 20, studying biochemistry in London. And just being in your most 19-year-olds for me is just not an activist or someone that's speaking up for the injustices of her people. Most 19-year-olds are just trying to figure out life, but she was really, really well, educated and come from an educated background and just really fueled with so much more layers and so much to say. So that really surprised me and really encouraged me as a young person. And in terms of preparing, I just really dived into as much research as I could of her, to just get a sense of who she was and just definitely getting a connection to her spirit so I can represent her through the spirit, really.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hi, Letitia.
Hey.
Hi. So one of the questions the question I had for you, what struck me in probably my own ignorance was not knowing anything about the Black Panthers in Britain. And so I was wondering, how much of that history did you know going into this role?
Again, for me, I grew up in Guyana in South America, and predominantly we have American TV, a little bit of British TV, a little bit, but predominantly our influences from America. And then, making the move with my family to the UK, again, like most of the history that we saw and learnt about was predominantly history that's based in the States, in America. So that's where I first learned about the Black Panther Party. That's where I started to learn about Angela Davis and Assata and Huey, everybody, I predominantly all of my connections and research and understanding of just racial injustice predominantly came from my knowledge of American history. But in terms of the UK, no, that was something that has been just kept under the carpet for so many years. There's certain stories and certain tragic things, such as Stephen Lawrence, a young Black man who was murdered here in the UK. I think it's in the 90s, actually. That's a tragic story that we carry with us even today. So those stories, you know, were at the forefront, but stuff that happened in the 60s, 70s, you know, always under the carpet, kind of seems to be the British way, really. And also Steve really pinpointed the fact that trauma makes people a little bit hesitant to share their stories. You know, trauma makes people really, really hesitant to share. So knowing about the Mangrove 9, maybe I would have known about it sooner, but when you have trauma and you have pain traveling through, you know, a particular subject matter and particular experience of your life, you tend to hold back on sharing it. But, you know, now is the time for us to share it.
I want to talk to you about a specific scene in Mangrove, and I think, I mean, obviously I thought you were fantastic, but there was a part you really pulled me in, and that's when you are speaking to the other defendants and specifically, and you were saying, I'm paraphrasing, excuse me, I'm fighting not just for me, I'm fighting for my unborn child, I'm fighting for the future vision. And I feel like that kind of sums up everything that's going on right now in the world and everything who we are. Talk a little bit what it felt like to do that scene. Did you do one take? How did you roll into that?
Whew, yeah. Again, you know, you see these words written on paper, and as an actor, you know, your sole intention as an actor, no matter where you are in the world telling the story, you just want to be a vessel for the truth. That's all the aim is to tell the truth. And for me, it was just in this moment, this is the truth that's written on this paper, and I have to be a vessel, someone to carry this information and speak through, like, let it speak through me and connect to my audience. So for me, it was just all the research, everything I had done, you know, everything I'd done to not only research about them, but, you know, the Black experience here in the UK and in the Caribbean too, just fueled me in that moment. And I remember Steve just setting everybody up, Shabier, our cinematographer, director of photography, and there's everybody that needed to be there, focus puller, whoever you were. He didn't put any marks down on the floor. It was just, he was so sensitive to the fact that this is a moment. You don't know what you're gonna get, but this is a moment. And he didn't make it like a moment, like, Tish, this is a moment. It was just like, feel everything that you feel inside, tell the truth, and we'll capture it. So that was my objective, just to tell the truth. And I'm so honored that those are the words, because you don't get that as a young Black woman. You don't get those type of characters and those type of, and it's hard to say character because this is a real person I'm representing, but you don't get to represent people like this on the screens. And you also don't get to say these words very often. So when you do get the opportunity, you grab hold of it with everything that you have. So that was my moment of grabbing hold of that and saying it, because I know that it was going to resonate not only for the time period of what we were representing, but where we are right now and where we want to go, that how we conduct ourselves as a humanity and what we fight for as a humanity and as Black people will shape the futures of the next generation to come. I hope that answers the question.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Bless you.
Likewise.
Hi, Letitia. This is Reggie Ponder out of Chicago. And when we talked to some of your co-actors, one of the things that came up was this whole issue of celebration of culture. And you also talked about history. I didn't really see this as history as much as I felt this as a part of me. It seemed like Black people everywhere, and it resonated with me. Can you talk about the celebration of the culture, from the food to the spaces to the music to the spaces, all of that?
Yeah, I love that question. Thank you so much for that. You know, again, you know, I'm still building in my craft, and oftentimes you're given characters that, you know, you have to step into their world, step into their culture, step into their space, and that's beautiful as an actor, because that's your job. But for me, is a bit more special because my heritage and my connection is of the Caribbean culture. Though we are is located in South America, our culture is predominantly Caribbean. So having the opportunity to celebrate the food that your auntie cooks, the way your mom and your dad or your, you know, grandma just heckles each other in the kitchen, you know, the music that everybody gets up and just whines and just dance to is a dream come true, because we've never had that opportunity to do it. You know, I grew up on Desmond's. If you guys know Desmond's, it's like an old school, you know, show. And he was Guyanese, you know, and he was like the biggest thing from Guyana back then. But yeah, Desmond's was like the start of that. And now we get to bring our culture, bring our foods, bring our clothing, bring our ideologies and ideas to the forefront within cinema. And I'm so proud of it. So yeah, it was a treat. It's a treat to go on set and hear two people talking and know exactly the lingo. Do you know what I mean? I guess it's the same for y'all wherever you are in Chicago. There's a lingo, there's a vibe, there's a connection that nobody else can connect to, but just you know what I mean? And wherever you guys are located too, individually and collectively. So as a Guyanese, you know, young lady, you know, it's just beautiful to just hear the way they were speaking and the way we all connected on set. I know exactly the food that's in front of you. I know if it's cooked well, if it's seasoned well or not. You just know. So that was beautiful.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hi, Letitia. Thank you so much for speaking to us today. There's a line that Althea says when they're deciding to, when she's deciding to represent herself in court, and it's like, we have to be the protagonists in our own stories. And she was speaking with regards to in a legalistic way, because she was like, we have to defend ourselves. We can't let them dictate the terms when we get in court. But I saw it as a metaphor for not only the film, but all of the films in this Small Axe series, because it's about Black people being the protagonists of their own story and telling their own history. So what was that like for you, not only bringing that particular line to life and applying it to the entire film, but also was there anything after filming that's where that stuck with you and it kind of applied to everything else going forward?
In a nutshell, yes. You know, it's beautiful to not have someone else just, yeah, it's just beautiful to be able to give it a chance to be a vessel for these stories and stories that resonate and connect with you. It's always beautiful to do that. After leaving the project, after coming away from the project, I saw the sense of representing yourself in different ways, whether it's the work environment of acting. You know, as an actress, people like to tell you what to do, how to be. Some of those of advice, you know, it's not really good, it's not really beneficial. So just a sense of self, a sense of who you are, a sense of what your moral values are, you know, what you're willing to fight for, you know, really resonated with me after, you know, pulling away from the project and kind of like dissecting everything that just happened in my personal life, yeah, in my career, in myself as a young woman, you know, in my everyday life, just what I stand for, you know, what I'm willing to tolerate and accept, just seeing those as all different forms of self-representation and self-representing myself. And yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Right, thank you so much.
Okay.
Hi, Letitia. Ray Cornelius here with Upfront Inside Atlanta's entertainment industry. You had an opportunity to work with the great Steve McQueen. Wanted to know if there was a personal lesson learned from him that you'll use or take with you in your future career as an actress.
Yes, Steve would not only encourage us on set, not only, you know, praise us, you know, even before we saw the final film, he was praising us after a take, considering if everything went well, because we were shooting on film. So he would say, check the gates. And if the gates are not checked and on time and great, then there's problems. Because, you know, that means you have to subsequently do another take. But once the gates are good on the film, he would really come up and cherish us and just like feed into our talents and just nurture us, which I really respect. And one thing he always would say, which I would take with me, with my, my journey and my career as I move forward, is we're all going to pass away one day. Leave everything on the screen. Leave it on the screen. If you have the opportunity to tell stories and this is your craft and this is what you do, we're gonna go. There's gonna be a day where we have to be called back home with our Father in heaven and leave it on the screen. So that really infused a lot to me, that every moment I'm gonna get from now on to be on set, from my experience of small acts and moving forward, is to leave everything I can on the screen and just give as much as I can through my character.
Hi, you have such a diverse body of work, and I want to know what drew you to Mangrove, and what do you think the lasting impression of the story should be for viewers?
Okay. What drew me to Mangrove, again, just the purpose of telling this story, something that hasn't been brought to the forefront like this before. Again, you get loads of scripts, thankfully you get loads of scripts, but unfortunately all of those scripts does not mean that it equals to substance. And it's very hard to swallow when you have bills to pay and family to look after, and to say no is tough, but you say no to keep your integrity. And there comes a time in your life where you're fortunate enough to see a script come by, and you can only say yes, and you're mad to say no. And this is one of them. It's filled with purpose, it's filled with meaning, and it's filled with substance. And so grateful that I'm a part of that. I'm so grateful for that. And what I would want the audience members to take away, again, is from the whole anthology series in itself and the collection of films, just a display of black love, joy, pain, just another aspect into the diaspora. We are beautiful race of people in every corner of this earth. We're in Brazil, we're in Africa, we're everywhere. But this is just a moment for us to see this sector of the diaspora in London, in Britain, and to take away the fact that 50 years ago we're speaking and asking and protesting and demonstrating for change, and 50 years later we're still in the same space. As an audience member, I would hope that we can take away the importance and the necessity that change needs to happen, and enough is enough on Black brutality and prejudice and just unfairness towards us as a race, and just needs to stop. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Brandon. Brandon Collins.
Hi, Letitia.
Hey,
other than Althea's youth, what most impresses you about what you learned from her in playing this role? And also, how did it feel, even in COVID, to open the London Film Festival with this film, this piece of work?
Oh man, the fact that she was fighting for her freedom whilst juggling her exams as a biochemistry student, acing her exams as a biochemistry student, getting married and having a kid. She's a phenomenal woman. She's our everyday woman, handling life, handling work, handling family, and at the same time, handling the British judicial system, the British criminal justice system, and winning. That impressed me so much. And being able to open up at BFI is again a blessing, because it's one of those film festivals you're so honored to be a part of, and seeing the reception there, people coming out, being brave to come out and support the film. And I got to meet her daughter, the child that I speak about. You guys have all watched this, no spoilers. So the child within my womb that I speak about, I met this young lady at the screening of BFI, and she hugged me and she's just like, you were talking about me. And I was like, wow, this is a mind blow. And to see her as a young woman now, she's beautiful, so well-rounded and put together. So yeah, it was beautiful to have that moment at BFI and to share that with everybody.
Thank you, Letitia. We appreciate your time. We look forward to continuing to celebrate and uplift you in the work that you do. On behalf of the world's largest group of Black film critics, thank you for watching today, and we'll see you real soon.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.